most of the people in Miami are from New York. It's hysterical. So they all came running in, and they assumed there was a little fire up there, and it was early in the morning, and probably nobody at work, and no big deal. They'll take care of it. There's fire suppression in the building. Then they started talking about, the guests started saying, I think that was a plane. It looked like it might have been a plane. And I remember hearing Bryant Gumbel saying, well, until we can confirm that, don't say it was a plane. Meanwhile, the rest of the world knew it was a plane at that point. Bryant was like on another page. Then, while he was live on the air with a split screen, and they had the video trained on the World Trade Center live, that was in the second plane. This was after 9, the second plane hit. And the guest said, Bryant, that was a second plane. Bryant had been looking down at his notes and missed it. And literally, Bryant Gumbel said, he looked up and said, don't say that. We can't confirm. Meanwhile, it was like one of those things. Who are you going to believe, me or your own lying eyes? The whole world just saw it. And poor Bryant, he's another very nice man. Poor Bryant missed it. And I kind of felt for him in that moment because he was looking at his notes. He was trying to do his job.
Right.
Somebody must have gotten in his ear. But it was at that moment that I literally thought I was sick to my stomach. And that's when I realized, oh, my God, you could see it was a big jet. And that's when we all realized the world had changed at that moment. Let me just finish with this and say 23 years later, okay, and the first 23 years, all the New York TV stations, because they had to cover it, all of their transmitting antennas were on the World Trade Center. So they all got knocked off the air and they had to figure out ways to get back on the air during the crisis. It was horrifying. I did come up at one point for CBS and covered it from New York for them. So what ended up happening was today, 23 years later, what was really sad, I won't call them out, but one of the local TV stations in New York decided that 9/11 is just old hat. And they decided not only not to lead with it, but they didn't put the story on. This is a New York City owned TV station by one of the networks. They didn't put 9/11 coverage on until about 7 minutes in. Like it was just an after, like in other news, 9/11 is today. Right. Really? Meanwhile, for 23 years, we've been saying never forget. And how on earth do you bump it down? They put the debate first. And then once they did all their comprehensive debate coverage, then they got to 9/11 when they got to it. All the other stations had 9/11 as the lead. Only one station, and I will not call them out out of respect, but people who are in the industry know who they are, and that station should be ashamed for doing that. That's just disgusting.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Ken, and I want to get back to the post-debate analysis here, but at the same token, it is frustrating, but because I do feel like a lot of Americans have forgotten, and I was speaking earlier with my guest Ned Ryan, and frankly, with our open border situation, I'm concerned that we might experience another one. We were so unified during that period of time as Americans. We're so divided now. I hope and pray that we don't have to experience, our kids, grandkids don't have to experience what we experience, but I fear they will simply because so many people have forgotten. The Biden-Harris open border policies are terrifying me. But we shouldn't forget America is a great country, but we do have enemies. And we need to remember that. And we also obviously remember the fallen and the family members that still, obviously there was a memorial today. And we have to never forget what happened, or surely it will happen again. Sadly. But that's where we are. All right, Ken, it's hard to jump from that and go back to the debate, but we only have a few minutes left with you. And so I wanted to get your take on a couple of things. Let's go to this. This is video clip number 5, Gabe. This is Kamala Harris with David Muir back in 2019 when it comes to gun control. Let's go ahead and run that, por favor.
In recent days, former Vice President Biden has said about executive orders, some really talented people are seeking the nomination. They said, I'm going to issue an executive order. Biden saying there's no constitutional authority to issue that executive order when they say I'm going to eliminate assault weapons, saying you can't do it by executive order any more than Trump can do things when he says he can do it by executive order. Does the vice president have a point there?
Some things you can, many things you can't.
Let's let the senator answer.
Well, I would just say, hey, Joe, instead of saying, no, we can't, let's say, yes, we can.
Let's be constitutional. We got a constitution.
And yes, we can.
Wow. I had forgotten that David Muir was in that debate. And again, I know you know the guy personally, but it seems to me that would have been an easy fact check.
Right. he and Lindsay
him.
were awfully quiet during that point last night, weren't they?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Again, I mean, it was 3-on-1. Again, personally, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I do believe you drink some of that ABC water or you get that ABC paycheck, and for some reason you forget some of the questions you asked to presidential candidates in the past. Here's another one that I'd like to play. This is clip number 13, Gabe. This is Rick Santelli going off on all of the things that the ABC moderators did not ask of Kamala Harris regarding the economy. Let's go ahead and roll that. Number 13, please.
Let me just ask then, since we're on the topic, Rick, how you feel about tariffs?
You know how I feel about tariffs? It's a bargaining chip. And many of the tariffs with China are still on. Once again, the moderators don't drill down on the two aspects of tariffs, but they do drill down on other areas that make no economic sense whatsoever.
But you don't think the tariffs raise prices? Just as a mathematical economic...
Listen, prices are going up no matter what, Andrew. Whether you do it on the tax side, whether you do it on the tariff side, our policies are silly. We can't be Santa Claus. All those programs aren't policies, they're promises that never get by Congress, and each one of them has a cost we can't afford because we've done this before. When you prepay and you make policies that don't make economic sense, you may think you're getting a benefit. Look at what we learned yesterday. Finally, wages reach 2019, but it doesn't reflect how much they've gone up since 2019. If you're out there and you're a young person, study up. Study up. All these superstars that made recommendations in such a timely...
Let's cut it there because this video goes on for quite some time. But you get the gist. You get the gist here. We only have about a minute and a half left. I mean, that's a great answer. That's just a great answer, and I wish the moderators would have touched on the economic policies that will devastate middle class Americans.
Yeah, Democrats love to promise lollipops and puppy dogs, and it would be wonderful, but there are certain realities here. Otherwise, the entire universe would be rich and having their feet massaged every day and having food just brought to them on silver platters. There is a certain reality. Money is finite unless we do something to generate it. Republicans wisely, by lowering taxes and getting rid of restrictions, Republicans allow the system, the engine that is capitalism, to produce more wealth. Democrats look at it as getting in the way, and they love to be confiscatory, take the wealth away from these evil people who make it, and let the government disperse the money as they wish. The problem is they run out of it because they don't generate the engine.
All right. So listen, again, I'm speaking with Ken Rosado of Salem News Channel, formerly with WABC and CBS too. Yeah. I'm learning, man.
I worked for all of them at one point.
All right. All of them. Okay. So Ken has got some, well, he's got some serious experience and some good wisdom when it comes to the news business. So we're honored to have you. But I wanted to bring Ken on. I wanted him to give you a perspective of what it's like behind the veil of ABC, because let's be honest, they don't have to tell the moderators what to do. It's basically left wing. You're under that umbrella, and you kind of live in a bubble. You make lots of money, and you don't want to rock the boat. Guys, listen, thank you, Ken. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.